Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Business Spotlight series. I'm your host Devi Malavika, and joining me today is Charlotte Pitts, who's the Managing Director of the HR Consultants. The HR Consultants offer accessible, comprehensive HR support and advice for businesses tailored to your budget and requirements. So, Charlotte, it is wonderful to have you on our Business Spotlight series. Welcome. And I'm really, really happy that we're doing this interview today. So let's start off by you telling us a bit more about the HR consultants and how it all began, because I understand it began in 2019.
That's right. Yeah. So we're just about to celebrate our fifth business birthday. So I feel quite proud actually that we've made that milestone. You hear all these statistics, don't you, about the number of businesses that fail in their first year and whatever. So yes, I'm immensely proud. So we started in 2019. A little bit about sort of before that, I've worked in HR for many years, my whole career pretty much. Realised after a lot of hard work and years of kind of chasing this dream that when I got there and I sort of got into the pivotal role of group HR director, that I'd kind of fallen out of love a bit with the corporate world. And I think that was down to, I talked to lots of people about, you know, why they decided to set up their own businesses. And I'm always a bit fascinated by it. And I think I went through something quite similar to lots of other people, which is that, well, for me, I was on a leadership team of, it's very traditional. So there were a bunch of middle-class white men who were my fellow leaders within the organisation. I was, you know, the only woman, and I was the HR director. So it was the kind of the traditional role where a woman would sit was within HR. And I kind of just got a bit tired of it felt like constantly trying to convince the leaders that I worked alongside of the benefit of putting people at the heart of what we do, and that actually, if you do that, you know, you look after your people, and I think Richard Branson said it quite famously, then, you know, everything else will look after itself. And so like I said, I just got a bit tired of sort of trying to have the same old conversation and influence people about that. I'd bought the domain, the HR Consultants, a few years before, so I'd always had this idea in my head. But then I had my children, went on maternity leave, and decided it was the right time. So it was just me on my own for the first year or so. Yeah, 2019, just before that little thing called the pandemic hit us. I'd during the pandemic to just keep mainly getting content out on, so that when the time came that all of my connections and, you know, people, whoever needed HR support, or they knew somebody that needed HR support, they'd think, who's that woman who's always talking about HR stuff? And it worked. And so hired my first employee towards the end of 2020, and then we've just built from there, really. So we're a team of 12. And we provide all kinds of outsourced HR support. So usually for businesses who are not quite big enough maybe to have their own internal HR team. So, you know, we sort of take all of the stress away from those leaders when they have tricky people situations that crop up, which is part and parcel of being an employer. And then we also do recruitment and leadership development training, and anything people related, we kind of do that. So yeah, it's been a fascinating journey over the last 5 years, and I've learnt so much.
Oh, no, I can hear that, because the entire idea, I just like how you turned it around in your favor, that during the lockdown you started adding a lot of content on LinkedIn, you know, because it's always making the best out of what you have. And I can clearly see that you did that, and it worked, which is wonderful. So loving the backstory and how it all began. So inspirational. And, you know, you have seen a lot of growth after that happened once you set up in 2019. So what would you attribute your growth to in this case?
I think I realised quite early on that I didn't know it all, and that I wasn't the best person to do everything working in that space, and they're really knowledgeable, and so they are the perfect people to be helping our their people issues.
Mm.
I in terms of outsourcing stuff, so for all of those things that you learn that you need to do when you set up a business. So I went into HR consultancy because I knew HR. I had no idea about running a business, so things like SEO for our website, so we outsourced that. So
Right.
getting specialist help
Mm.
where we needed it was something that I definitely recognised quite early on. And then the other thing was, as part of that, so I've got a business coach who is a business
Mm.
growth specialist, and
Mm.
he's somebody that has had a business for many years, and so has been through a lot of the things that I have
Mm.
experienced and continue to experience. And so having somebody like that to be able to sort of bounce stuff off of and to give me all of that kind of
Mm.
invaluable advice, all of that just really, really helped me to get where I wanted to go a lot faster, I think. So yeah, sucking up the knowledge of other people and using people who are just better at doing stuff than me. I think quite often as a
Mm.
business owner, you think you want to kind of keep control of everything, and
Mm.
you don't want to necessarily trust other people with your baby, and it's your business, and I
Right.
completely understand that. But in terms of survival and keeping your mental sanity, you just have to realize you can't do it all. So yeah,
Right.
definitely getting other people on board. I like to say that business is a team sport, and it makes it so much more enjoyable when you've got other people around you.
No, absolutely. I agree to that 100%. And I think, like you said, it all begins with knowing and accepting the fact that you can't do it all and you don't know everything that needs to go into a
Exactly.
business. So it's always good that you have experts come in to help you. And then, like you said, it's a team effort. Everything that happens, it's a team effort. So, um, wonderful. I'm just really liking how rich that was. And I'm just wondering how many business owners would have been able to relate to that, to trusting their baby project or to trusting their baby with, another team. It's actually a huge thing to do, and you have to be very vulnerable. So I think it's a very vulnerable process as well, which is wonderful. So I just really liked what you put out there. I have to say that. And I think along with all the growth that would have happened, you would have also come across quite a lot of challenges, right? So can you speak a bit more about what the current challenges that you're facing in the business?
Yeah, gosh, there have been so many, and I describe my business journey as a constant roller coaster. The highs are phenomenally high, and the lows can make you feel just like, oh my gosh, why am I
Mm.
doing this?
Mm.
And I think a big thing that I learned actually, and my coach has helped me with this, is that it's very emotional, having a
Mm.
business. And as I
Mm.
said earlier, it kind of feels like your baby, and being able to
Mm.
control your emotional reaction to stuff that happens is
Right.
actually something that I've tried to work on, because not everything's in your control, but how you react to it actually is, the
Mm.
bit that you can control. I think some
Mm.
of the challenges, I mean, economical stuff that just
Mm.
goes on out there,
Mm.
businesses struggling and not having money to invest in outsourcing services, all of that sort of stuff. Um, you can what we tend to do is look was help our clients to see that actually, by investing in our support in terms of your people, that is an
Right.
investment, not a cost. And if you invest in your
Mm.
people, then you will be able to service your clients better. Your team will work more cohesively together. They'll care about each other more. They'll care about your business, all of that sort of stuff. So when economically it's tough to find money, to be spending on stuff, remembering that there are these investments that are really going to have an impact on your bottom line. A big challenge for businesses, I think, is marketing is really hard, especially when you don't come from a marketing background. It's a bit like a dark art, I think, sometimes, especially with
Mm.
algorithms and that kind of stuff, and figuring out how to
Right.
optimize your website and appear on page one of Google and all of that sort of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I guess going back to what I said earlier, getting expertise from people that do understand that, rather than trying to figure everything out on your own, is
Mm.
certainly what I would recommend to people who are sort of, starting a business or a bit earlier on in their journey.
Mm.
Team stuff. Employing people is hard, and I say that as an HR professional. Like, I know it from a
Right.
professional perspective, but when you
Mm,
employ those people within your own business,
mm,
I think one thing I've realised is to try and not take it so personally. So that's a lot harder. That's a lot easier said than done. And I've been a leader in businesses and had teams and, you know, people that have underperformed or had issues or whatever. But when they work in your business, it just
mm,
feels a lot more personal, I guess. And so trying to kind of detach yourself a little bit and realize that actually it is business. It's not necessarily,
right.
you know, about you personally. That's
Mm,
definitely, yeah,
mm,
been a challenge and something that I'm sort of constantly trying to work out. So yeah, loads of challenges, but I think um it's kind of accepting that there will always be challenges in business, and that, you know, they will never end. And so today's challenge will
mm,
be this problem, and we'll figure it out and deal with it. And because I kind of enjoy that, I think secretly, and we'll put
right.
that one to bed, and then tomorrow there'll be
Mm,
another challenge, and we'll kind of, you know, attack that with enthusiasm and positivity, and you know, next week it will be something else. It's just kind of part of the journey of owning a business.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, thank you so much for that share. And what I noticed along with that share is also your positivity and your enthusiasm to take things up and always having that belief in yourself that you will move on from whatever it
Yeah.
is that you're facing. So that's something that definitely came across to me, and I think that's really wonderful. Very nice virtue to have in a person. Wonderful. So thank you for that share. Now, moving on, I remember you mentioning something about how you have uh, how you've been tired having endless conversations with people about how important it is to invest in the team, right? So let me give you that opportunity. Let's have that conversation here. Why don't you speak a bit more about the importance and what the benefits are of investing in your team, investing in your people, and how it's not a cost but an investment, like you just said?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of people see HR as something that's oh, I mean, I can't stand the phrase, but kind of a bit pink and fluffy, and, you know,
Right.
nice, kind of nice to have, nice to be nice. Whereas actually, when you really manage your HR or your people properly,
Mm,
you'll
mm,
understand that there's a lot of measurable things that you can look at to show that when you're investing in your people, you're going to
mm,
get a real fundamental return on that investment. So
right. Mm,
there's lots of statistics out there which I don't have in my head to be able to quote, but things like
mm,
if your people feel, so we talk about engagement a lot, and engagement is a term
mm,
that is bandied around quite a lot, but really what engagement in this context is that people are fundamentally happy in their jobs, they're happy at work. So if you've got people who
mm,
are happy in their work, then they will be more productive, they'll be more
mm,
efficient. So that's fantastic. They're going to work harder, they're going to get more work done in the hours that they've got for you. They're going to
mm,
take fewer sick days, so that's going to cost your business less. And the
mm,
impact as well of sickness on the rest of the team and that kind of stuff. So there'll be less of that. Your employee turnover will be vastly reduced. So again,
mm,
another a direct cost in terms of having
mm,
to recruit replacements, but also the impact that having, you know, people leaving the business have that, what that has on the rest of the team.
mm,
And there's just so many different things that can be attributed back to, if people are happy at work, then
mm,
these things just won't be an issue. You know, accidents at work are vastly reduced
right.
if you've got an engaged workforce. So there's so much that actually can be measured and tracked, and you will see a massive impact on a company's bottom line if you've got
Mm,
people who are reporting, you know, to be happy in their
mm,
roles. So
mm,
yes, it's not easy to get people
mm,
to that point. It takes a lot of work, and leaders need to be really focused on leading their teams, which
mm,
often leadership is seen as something that is kind of an additional part of a role rather than actually being the core part of what you're, you know, the core thing that you're there to do as a leader. No, your job
mm,
isn't to talk to unhappy customers or to be dealing with sales. Actually, no, you're there to lead the team that's responsible for doing that. And as that leader, you need to be communicating really well to your people. You need to be making sure that they're, that they are able to work effectively and they have the tools and equipment and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, all of those things are what goes into making a happy workforce. And that's not, it shouldn't be seen as something that's just nice to have because it's nice to work with people who are happy. Actually, it's going to have a really fundamental impact on your profitability and your turnover. So why wouldn't you, why wouldn't you want to invest in that? We're all here to make money at
Absolutely.
the end of the day. So
Absolutely, 100%. And it's also, I think, one of the tricky things about HR when you were speaking, the thought that came to my mind was you are on some level managing the qualitative to bring you quantitative
yeah,
results.
exactly.
So it's not that easy to make that happen. And also you're dealing with people, you're dealing with so many different types of people. So it's not a very easy thing to do to make sure that you have very happy workforce. But then only if you have a happy team will you have happy clients, you have more revenue. So it's just all directly linked on some level.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
yes, I think what you were trying to say is that many people they even fail to see that direct link about how it is important to invest in them and that it's not a cost. So that's just wonderful. So much value addition there, right there with what you shared. I think it's definitely something that many of us can go back and reflect on and see how different business owners are dealing with their employees. Wonderful. So let me move on to one of my last questions. What have your major learnings been as an employer in the business?
oh, that's an interesting question. I think remember, I mean, it's really easy to get caught up in the day to day, isn't it? And and that's why quite often businesses, they just don't get round to putting in place their, the basics like employee handbooks and people policies and that kind of stuff, just because there's so much other stuff that's kind of going on in the day to day. So having a real plan around it. So, often businesses they'll have their sales plan or their financial plan, whatever, but won't necessarily have a plan around people. And looking at your overall business goals. Okay, so what does that really mean with our workforce? Does that mean we need more resource, a particular kind of resource? Does it mean we need to upskill people in a certain area? Actually, we've got too many people in this area. Do we need to reduce the number of headcount? Whatever it may be, but having a real plan and figuring out, throughout the course of the financial year or the whatever time period you're looking at, when those things need to happen, and remembering that
Right.
not a lot of stuff in HR can be actioned super quickly. So, there needs to be planning and thought kind of put into all of this stuff so that they can be triggered at the right time. So yeah, having a plan around your people is just really, really crucial. And having people within that plan that are accountable for the different activities. So to make sure that stuff actually gets done, because here within my business, when we work with clients, we're all about taking action, not just putting together nice pretty plans with nice words on, but actually we want to see activity and we want to see those KPIs that we put in place around your bottom line and your profit, that we're actually having an impact on that. So having some ownership around the different activity that's going on. So we do that with clients and we do that ourselves as well, because the stuff that gets done in the best way is usually the stuff that has a plan around it.
There you go. She's spoken, that's just wonderful. Oh my God. Thank you so much. Really. So, everybody listening, you need to not only have a plan, but you also need to action those plans.
Exactly.
Spot on. So, that's absolutely wonderful. So, Charlotte, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this interview with us because it's been such a valuable conversation
My
that we've
pleasure.
had.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and I'm really, really sure that all of our, viewers, they would have had some key takeaways that they can definitely go back to and reflect on. So thank you so much for making that value addition for us. Thank you.
Thanks very much.